Hello, Internet! Now, the following video might seem a bit out of my usual oeuvre, but it fits with the theme of this particular channel, which is to educate all of you in culture. So what I'm going to talk to you now is opera and classical music, and even a ballet. Now, I realize that just saying this is enough to make most of you, turn away from the channel, so I have decided to add a little humor in the hopes that this might then encourage you to take a look at things, at least from that perspective. So what I'm going to give you now is 5 of my favorite silly, confusing, and utterly ridiculous opera and classical musical plots. Yeah, enjoy. Start by Mozart's famous opera Così fan tutte. Now, if you don't know it, which I hope I don't, so this will be new to you, it is basically about 2 Italian officers who want to discover if the women they are engaged to be married to are actually as virtuous as they think they are. So they decide to grow ridiculously oversized comical mustaches in order to pass themselves off as Albanians, in which case they will then attempt to court the other one's fiance in order to figure out whether or not said fiance is loyal to the person who is courting the other person's fiance. I don't know if you can follow it, but there's some really good music there. It all ends with basically everyone being ready to marry the person who they are not supposed to be marrying by another friend who has disguised himself as a notary until the whole thing comes together in apparent humor at the end. There's really not much more to say. Basically, we have a story where a couple of people, best friends, tries to fool their fiancés, also best friends, by growing mustaches. And people say that opera is high culture. Move on to the Johann Strauss the Younger operetta Die Fledermaus, or the Bat, basically. Let me start by introducing you to the main cast. We have Gabriel von Eisenstein, except when he's pretending to be Marquis Renard, Rosalinde Eisenstein, his wife, when she isn't pretending to be an Hungarian countess, Adele, Rosalinda's chambermaid, when she isn't pretending to be Olga the actress, Frank the jailer, when he isn't pretending to be Chevalier Sagrin, and Alfred the singing teacher, when he isn't pretending to be Gabriel von Eisenstein. Basically, the only person in the entire operetta who doesn't pretend to be anyone else is Prince of Losky, and he's always played by a woman. Now, basically, all I want to say about this operetta is pay attention when the curtain rises, because there will be an empty room. This is crucial, because it's the last time anyone knows what the hell is going on. After that, the whole plot is one just big mess of confusion, of mistaken identities, and people making love to their own wives, and other sorts of weird stuff. Many times during Die Fledermaus has been performed, people would wander in and sing music from other operas, and at the end, the singers are so confused themselves that they are gargling out things like hoo 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 hoo, or dwee 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 la 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 la. Basically, about Die Fledermaus, seems to be the point is that if you've had enough booze, you won't actually have to notice the plot. We move on to an opera by Giuseppe Verdi, probably the greatest opera composer of all time. It was actually the second one he ever composed, and it was called King for a Day, and it flopped miserably. This might, in fact, have the most confusing and silly plot of all of them. It basically concerns a baron of Poland with an Italian name trying to take over the kingdom of Poland from Stanislaw, the king of Poland. And it is about his niece, Giulietta de Kelbar, who is engaged to Tesoria La Rocca, the treasurer of the States of Brittany, but is really in love with Eduardo, who is the nephew of said treasurer of the States of Brittany, and is a friend of Marchesa del Poggio, who is engaged to Count Ivrea, except that she really loves Cavaliere di Belfiore, and Cavaliere del Fiore spent most of the time masquerading as Stanislaus, the king of Poland, so he can beat the original Baron and leave Stanislaw as the King of Poland after the Polish Diet has a meeting. The audience didn't understand a word of what was going on either, and they hooted and hissed so loudly at the premiere that the opera was withdrawn and never ever performed again. Yeah. Moving into ballets, we're going to something called The Hunting of the Blackbird. It was actually written by Louis XIII of France himself, and he got the inspiration for it one day when he was out hunting blackbirds. Amazing, the mysterious pathways of inspiration indeed. The ballet begins with an aria by an old man who's supposed to represent winter. He goes in on stage and then he sings something about how lovely it is that spring is coming, so everyone could go out and hunt blackbirds, and hooray for the great and bountiful Louis XIII. May he rule forever in wisdom and glory. Would it surprise you to let you know that the king had written the damn thing himself? Then the old man goes out again, and a ton of other people comes in, confusing the hell out of everyone and swinging around in various ballet movements until basically the old man has rested enough to be able to come in again in another costume, this time representing spring, and sing a song about how wonderful it is that summer is coming, so everyone can stop hunting those annoying damn blackbirds, and hooray, hooray for the great and bountiful Louis XIII. May he rule forever in wisdom and glory. This was one of Louis' favorite ballets. I would advise all of you to look deeply into yourself to see if you can discover the reason why. And finally we come to the Ruins of Athens, a short play actually written by a fellow called August Friedrich Ferdinand von Kotzebue, and he managed to get Beethoven, of all people, to write incidental music for it. Beethoven agreed because he was paid a lot, despite the fact that it was the second worst play that he said he had ever written. The worst play was another one of Kotzebue that Beethoven unfortunately had also agreed to write incidental music to. However, The Ruins of Athens, and you cannot possibly imagine how dumb the story is. It's basically about Minerva and Mercury having a hard night on the Olympus back in the, Greek days, lying down for a short 2,000-year nap. And when they get up again, they decide to stretch and go down to see how Athens are doing. And they felt like they should have stayed in bed because Athens is a mess. So they go to Rome. Rome is an even bigger mess. And they go all around the world trying to find anywhere that are at least decent to live, and finally discover that the only real glorious place left in the world is the city of Pest in Hungary, under the magnificent rule of the great and glorious Emperor France. Long live the great and glorious Emperor France. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. Are you surprised if I tell you that France paid for the whole thing? Well, I have now subjected you all to opera, ballet, operettas, and other classical music, and at least I hoped I have convinced you that even though it might be silly, it might be ponderous, it might be high culture, it at least doesn't have to be boring if presented in the right way. Until next time, I have been the Sage, and I wish you all a very happy day.